Here's Matt Powell to completely misunderstand cosmology.
Only such a universe can begin from nothing. The laws of physics allow a universe to begin from nothing. You don't need a deity. You have nothing.
Imagine if I made the claim that some element like gold just appeared out of nothing in this area where I'm filming this video.
Imagine you're driving home one day and all of a sudden you see Matt Powell standing in the middle of the road.
Nobody would probably really believe that. But yet, there are some people who claim that the entire cosmos, the entire world, popped into existence with all of the elements from nothing.
First of all, there never was nothing. Lawrence Krauss is notorious for conflating the Big Bang singularity with nothing. There was never a time when nothing existed. Secondly, nobody claims that the universe appeared with all of the elements. The elements developed later out of energy rather than nothing.
This is a belief in magic. There is no question that atheism is based in mysticism. It is not true. It is unscientific.
What do you think mysticism is? Physicists didn't come up with the Big Bang by scrying into a crystal ball or summoning a demon. They inferred it from the observation that the universe is expanding and corroborated it by examining the cosmic microwave background radiation. What's mystical or unscientific about that?
The initial claim of atheism is actually the greatest argument against atheism. Think about it. They believe that the world created itself from literally nothing. Check out this quote from Stephen Hawking. He said that because there are laws such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. Alexander Vilenkin said that the universe can spontaneously create itself out of nothing. Here's from Lawrence Krauss. He said the universe can and will create itself from nothing.
Yeah, none of these guys are philosophers, so I doubt they would have the same conception of nothing as I would. In fact, Lawrence Krauss has explicitly stated that he doesn't use the term nothing in the same way that philosophers do.
These claims made by atheists are very foolish. They are demonstrably false. They are not true. The first law of thermodynamics tells us that matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed.
No, it doesn't. It says that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but there's actually no law that says that matter cannot be created or destroyed. And even if there were such a law, how would that be evidence that God did it? I don't believe that the universe created itself because I don't think there was ever a time when the space-time continuum didn't already exist. This is the case even if time hasn't existed infinitely. The idea that the universe was created either by itself or by something else would require that there was a time when time didn't exist, which is an obvious contradiction.
And so to make the claim that everything just appeared from nothing is to make the argument that magic is real.
Or that the laws of conservation of mass and energy aren't real. However, I think that they are real and that magic is not. The universe has always existed in the sense that there was never a time when it didn't, and thus did not need to be brought into existence.
The Bible says that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and that is the best explanation for the origin of time, space, and nature. We did not appear out of randomness.
It would have to be a coherent explanation before it could be the best explanation. What would it even mean for God to bring something into existence when that thing has always already been in existence? How do you create something at a time when it already exists? Also, nobody claims that the universe came from randomness. Even if you believe that the universe came from nothing, that's not the same thing as randomness.
So the initial claim that atheists make about the origin of the universe is the very claim that is the easiest to debunk from a scientific perspective, because there is no way that everything that you see around you could have just popped into existence uncaused by randomness and from nothing.
That's right, because there never was nothing. There was never a time when the universe, which by definition is all of space and time, did not exist.
If I made the argument that nothing could start a fire, that would be absurd, right? But imagine if an explosion occurred and nuclear fusion came about. How is it that we have nuclear fusion in the universe?
First, the forces of the universe differentiated themselves from one another, then particles formed, then gravity brought enough of those particles together with enough force to cause them to fuse.
Could nothing cause nuclear fusion to just spark itself into existence?
No, and nobody claims it did. You need gravity and nuclei in order for that to happen.
You cannot get something from nothing. Out of nothing, nothing comes. Nothing is not going to generate something by random chance.
So you don't believe that God created the universe ex nihilo then? Do you believe God made the universe out of something instead of nothing? And if, when God supposedly created the universe, it wasn't a random act, what caused God to create the universe?
Only such a universe can begin from nothing.
Before the Big Bang, There was nothing, literally nothing. And then something happened, triggering the most colossal explosion in history.
The only sense in which you could coherently say that there was nothing before the Big Bang is if you mean it in the sense that there's no such thing as before the Big Bang.
In a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a second, the universe grew from the size of that tiny point to something billions of miles across. This colossal blast created everything, all the matter we see in the universe today.
No, it didn't create anything. Even if the Big Bang singularity was at the earliest moment in time, there was no preceding moment in time during which the energy of the universe didn't exist. The matter eventually coalesced out of the energy level dropping enough for the fundamental forces to separate, and then the earliest particles were able to form.
So how can we trust these atheist science celebrities to tell us anything about the universe or about science or about the origin of life when they are so blatantly incorrect about the very fundamental of their belief in atheism?
Well, I wouldn't trust the particular scientists that you've cited so far with respect to the origin of life, because none of them are biologists.
The cosmological argument states that everything that begins to exist has a cause.
William Lane Craig, the apologist who most commonly uses this argument, has said that the main reason to believe that this is true is that we never see things pop into existence uncaused. As Scott Clifton has pointed out, this cherry picks the evidence we have from our experience because everything we see begin to exist was also made out of some pre-existing matter or energy. And we've never seen new energy being made, which is why there's a law that says that energy can't be made. If things that begin to exist need to be made, experience shows us that they must be made from something, not from nothing. If God needs to exist to create the universe, it seems to also be the case that God needs to create it out of something rather than ex nihilo. The universe, however, didn't begin to exist in the sense that it popped into existence. That makes it sound like there was a time when there was existence but no universe, then sometime later the universe entered existence. But since the universe, or the multiverse as the case may be, is all of time and space, there could never have been a time when there was existence without a universe.
The universe began to exist at some point, and that means that the universe must have a cause that goes beyond it, that must be outside of it.
What exactly does it mean to be outside of space and time? What does it mean to be part of objective reality without occupying any time or place? If something exists nowhere and never, in what sense does it exist at all?
That must be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial.
What's the difference between being timeless, spaceless, and immaterial and not existing at all?
Whatever brought into existence time, space, and nature must have been able to make the choice, an intelligent mind, to bring these elements into existence.
Why? Why would it need to be an intelligent mind? Even if something could exist without having any location in time and space, why would such a thing need to be intelligent or make a choice? Do you think that choices happen without cause? They don't. And do you think that unconscious, unintelligent events always require causes? They don't.
And to bring something as big as the ocean into existence requires power and intelligence. To assemble tiny pieces of material, known as H2O, requires power and intelligence.
Why? Do you think God is magically bonding hydrogen atoms to oxygen atoms? Why can't this happen on its own?
To not believe in God would take more faith than to believe in God. It takes irrational faith to be an atheist, but it takes rationality to understand that God did in fact create this world.
I don't understand how something that has literally always already existed could possibly have a cause, let alone need one. And what would it even mean for something to exist without having any location in space or time? I don't understand how that's even coherent, let alone rational.
So you have a timeless, spaceless, immaterial God who made the choice to create this world.
You're still not explaining why you think creating the world required intelligence or choice.
Everything isn't just going to appear from nothing and from random chance.
There never was nothing or purely random chance. There was never a time when nothing existed or when everything was random.
That is magic. That is a belief in mysticism.
So it takes no energy to create a universe. Universes are for free. A universe is a free lunch. And then you may say to yourself, well, that can't be right.
So the best argument against atheism is actually atheism's initial claim, that everything came from nothing.
I'm an atheist and I don't make that claim.
And by random chance, we just appeared here.
No, we appeared here through deterministic processes, not random chance. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.